Good morning, students. I hope you all are fine and staying safely at home. The last two classes, we have seen the lesson Dog, Our Best Friend. Today, we are going to see the rest of the lesson. First, we'll see the recap of last two classes and then we'll move on to the remaining lesson. Okay. Let's read the story of a dog that exhibits unfailing loyalty towards his master. So, in the last two classes, we have seen with some examples, that is, I have given some stories, right? I hope you all enjoyed it. It is a story of a dog which is very loyal to its master. Hashim was an old man who lived alone. His only friend was his pet dog, Bruno. So, who are the characters here? The old man named Hashim and the dog named Bruno. These are the two characters we are going to see in this story, right? So, Hashim was an old man who lived alone in a house, right? So, nobody is there to accompany him. So, what he decided? So, he decided to adopt a dog, right? Then, the dog was alone. No one is there to take care of it. So, Hashim adopted the dog and named it as Bruno. Bruno had grown up to a handsome big dog who was always faithful towards its master. So, when he adopted it, it was a small puppy. A small abandoned puppy means no one is there to take care. It was alone. So, he adopted it. So, while adopting, it was a small puppy. And now it has grown up to a handsome big dog who was always faithful towards its master. So it was very faithful. True faithful means very true to his master. Hashim too loved his dog. So in turn, Hashim, the old man, was very much attached to the dog. He loved the dog very much. You have seen the meaning of abandoned. Abandoned means alone and handsome means good looking, beautiful or attractive. Every morning, Hashim would take his dog for a walk. So, every morning, Hashim and his dog Bruno will go for a walk. Where they'll go? They would walk through the streets and they stop at a tea shop. Why to stop at a tea shop? To drink or to have tea. Hashim will have a cup of tea and Bruno would have a biscuit. So, every day this happens. Hashim would then buy a newspaper and walk back home. So, this routinely happening. They both go for a walk on the streets. They stop at a tea shop and Hashim will have a cup of tea and Bruno would get a biscuit. And then they'll buy a newspaper and walk back to home. So, it happened every day. They'll go for a walk, have a cup of tea and biscuits, buy a newspaper and return back home. One day, Hashim felt very sick. Very sick means he was not feeling well. It was late at night and he could not call for help. So, as he was not feeling well, he could not call anybody for help, right? Bruno, sensing that its master was sick, went around the neighborhood barking and waking the neighbors up. Sensing means it is a feeling. Bruno had a feeling that without seeing his master, he felt that he was not feeling well. So, he has to do something because no one is there to help, right? So, the dog Bruno went around the neighborhood. Neighborhood means nearby residents. The people who reside near our house. So, it went around the neighborhood barking and waking the neighbors up. So it was very late at night. No other go. The dog barked, made the neighbors wake. On hearing the dog's barking sound, the neighbors gathered around the Hashim's house. The neighbors gathered around the Hashim's house and took him to the hospital. So on reaching Hashim's house, they found Hashim was sick, so they took him to the hospital. Bruno too accompanied its master to the hospital and refused to leave his side. So the neighbors took Hashim to the hospital. Bruno was also very sad, so it also went along with them to the hospital. Accompanied means go with, go along with. So it also went to the hospital and refused. Refuse means deny. So it refused to leave his side. Leave his side means it was sitting nearby his master. So it didn't leave at all. When all the neighbors dispersed, Bruno stayed back with its master. When all the neighbors dispersed means they left. They went back to their house. But Bruno was the only one who was not willing to go home. It stayed near his master. So it stayed back with its master without going home. Look at the picture. It was very sad and crying. Bruno was sad because it could not go longer to a morning walk with its master. It sensed that its master missed reading the newspaper every morning. So look at the picture how the dog is. It was very sad. Why it is sad? Because its master was not feeling well and was hospitalized, was admitted in a hospital. So every day they will go for a walk, right? So he was not feeling well. It felt that we could not go for a walk today. So the master would miss walking today. Something has sensed Bruno that the master has missed reading the newspaper today. So it was thinking what to do. Bruno had noticed Hashim's handing 2 rupee coins at the tea shop for the newspaper during their walks. So it took few coins lying in the table and ran to buy newspapers for its master. So every day his master, that is Hashim the old man, will hand over 2 rupee coin to the tea shop and get newspaper. So it has noticed every day, and now it has thought that Hashim handed over a 2 rupee coin to the tea shop. So what did it do? So he has noticed every day where he takes the coin, right? So it took a few coins lying in the table and ran to buy newspaper for its master. So on noticing that, it also did the same. It took 2 rupee coins from the table and ran over to get newspaper for its master. Till now, we have watched the recap of the previous 2 classes, and now we are moving on to the lesson. The shopkeeper was surprised seeing a dog come to his shop to buy a newspaper. He took the coins and gave the newspaper to the dog. Bruno ran back to the hospital to give it to its master. I'll read it again, listen carefully. The shopkeeper was surprised seeing a dog come to his shop to buy a newspaper. He took the coins and gave the newspaper to the dog. Bruno ran back to the hospital to give it to its master. What is the highlighted word here? Surprised. Surprised. It has 2 syllables. Surprised. What is the pronunciation? Surprised. Here R is silent. So surprised. What is the meaning? Shocked. The shopkeeper was surprised seeing a dog come to his shop to buy a newspaper. So every day what happens? The dog will go with the master. The master will get the newspaper. So but here now the dog is handing over the coin to get newspaper. On seeing this, the shopkeeper was surprised because only the humans will go to the tea shop and hand us over coins to get newspaper. But here now the dog is giving money to the shopkeeper to buy a newspaper. So on seeing this, the shopkeeper was very much surprised. He took the coins and gave the newspaper to the dog. So it got the coin from the dog and gave back the newspaper to the dog. Bruno ran back to the hospital to give it to its master. So after buying the newspaper, it ran back to the hospital because the master is hospitalized. So it ran back to the hospital to give this newspaper to the master. Look at the picture. The dog is having newspaper in its mouth. On seeing the dog with the newspaper, the old man, that is the Hashim, was overjoyed. Overjoyed means extremely happy. Hashim was overjoyed. He hugged his dog and whispered, "What would I do without you, Bruno? You're my best friend." I'll repeat it again. Hashim was overjoyed. He hugged his dog and whispered, "What would I do without you, Bruno? You're my best friend." Her highlighted words are overjoyed. Overjoyed means extremely happy. It has 3 syllables. O, were, joyed. How to pronounce? Overjoyed. Here also R is silent. Overjoyed, meaning extremely happy. The next word is hugged. It has only 1 syllable. Hugged. Pronunciation is also the same, meaning hold tightly with arms. The third word is whispered. It has 2 syllables. WHIS, whispered. PRED. Whispered. How to pronounce? Whispered. Here also R is silent. So pronunciation is whispered, meaning said. That is in a low voice. Hashim was overjoyed, that is extremely happy. He hugged his dog and whispered, "What would I do without you, Bruno? You're my best friend." So, on seeing the dog with the newspaper in its mouth, Hashim has felt very happy and whispered, no, that is speaking in a low voice, and he hugged the dog and said, "You're my best friend. Without you, I cannot do anything," because no one is there to accompany him. He was staying alone with this dog, Bruno. As human, the dog also helped his master to recover when he was not feeling well. So the Hashim, that is the old man, said, "Dog, you are my best friend." I hope you all understood the story well. I'll just summarize it, so listen carefully. So the story is happening between a dog and an old man. The name of the dog is Bruno and the old man's name is Hashim. So they both were alone. No one is there to take care of them. So the old man adopted the dog when it was a small puppy. After that, it has grown into a beautiful dog. So every day what happens? They both go for a walk on the streets and they stop at the tea shop. He'll have a cup of tea. He means the Hashim will have a cup of tea and Bruno will have a biscuit. After that, they'll buy a newspaper and return back to home. So this happens every day. One day what happened? Hashim was not feeling well. It was very late at night, so he could not call anyone for help. Something has told Bruno that he was not feeling well. So it went around the neighbor's house and barked. So everyone woke up and came back to Hashim's house. They took him to the hospital and admitted there. But Hashim was not well, so he was admitted in the hospital. But Bruno was accompanied with them and he refused to go back to home. So it stayed along with Hashim in the hospital. So on the next day, the dog thought that they have missed every day's morning walk and the master would have missed reading the newspaper. So he thought and noticed. So every day his master will take some coins and go to the tea shop. It remembered that, and it also took few coins from the table and took it to the tea shop. On seeing the dog with coins, the shopkeeper was shocked. So he got the coins from the dog and returned newspaper to the dog. So on getting the newspaper from the shopkeeper, the dog, that is Bruno, ran back to the hospital and handed it over to the master. On seeing this, Hashim felt very happy and he hugged his dog and said, "You are my best friend." I hope you all understood. The lesson is over. Now we are moving on to the assignment. This is today's assignment, that is the classwork writing. In the last two classes, we have written the classwork, right? Now write today's date, continue with the same classwork notebook, write Roman letter 4, answer the following. These are the questions from the lesson which I have taught you. I'll ask the questions and tell you the answers. Who was Hashim? Where did he live? Hashim was an old man who lived alone. The second question was, did Hashim have many friends? No, Hashim did not have many friends. His only friend was his pet dog Bruno. The third question is, how did Bruno alert the neighbors when Hashim fell sick? Bruno, sensing that its master was sick, went around the neighborhood barking and waking the neighbors up. And the fourth question is, how did Bruno get the newspaper for Hashim? Bruno took few coins lying on the table and ran to buy newspaper for its master. The last question, fifth one. What did Hashim say when Bruno got him the newspaper in the hospital? Hashim was overjoyed. He hugged his dog and whispered, "What would I do without you, Bruno? You are my best friend." So here the lesson gets over and the classwork also gets over. Copy down the question and answers neatly. The same classwork which you wrote on the last classes. Write it neatly. Copy down the questions in black pen and write the answers in blue ink pen. I hope you understood the story and enjoyed the class. See you in the next session with some other new topic. Thank you.